many things that you can learn no matter how old you are, man. And like Ed O'Neill, from Married with Children. I know it's not a good show to watch, but we were growing up. We know Al Bundy, but he got his black belt from the Gracies.
I didn't know.
Yeah, dude. I found that out like 5 years ago. I saw him on one of the video clips with the Gracie breakdown, and he's a black belt, dude.
I just found out Putin is
Really?
like a 8th-degree black belt in judo and a black belt in jiu-jitsu or something.
Oh, I
He's
didn't
like
know. That's
high
crazy.
level, man. Yeah, it's crazy, man.
That's crazy. He does look a little fit now that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
But yeah, man. Shout out to Habib Nurmagomedov. If you're listening to us, you're going to be on the show, inshallah, brother.
Inshallah.
And we're going to smash him.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah. I know you guys don't like it. So, anyways, back to the Fiqh Council stuff, which we'll get into the actually subject we wanted to talk about today with you. So I found out you're in the Fiqh Council because you're in that picture at ISNA, and then I saw a bunch of comments about like, how come there are no women here?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was funny.
Why are there no women in the Fiqh Council?
There was one person.
Who said there's no women in the
There's
Fiqh
one
council, man? There was
in the
one.
Fiqh-
There were some women that were making an issue, but no
Well,
guys.
there's not many women inventors either, so what's the problem?
Yeah, you're right.
So that was the discussion online. So yeah, there's actually 2 women on the Fiqh council.
Okay.
Dr. Dina and then Dr. Zainab Alwani. So
Wait.
she was the only. Dr. Zainab was the only one in the picture.
Okay.
Yeah.
So people had a problem and they said, well, why isn't the Fiqh council composed of 50% female and 50% male? Otherwise, it's automatically implied that there's some gender, discrimination taking place.
What about racial discrimination? Is the Fiqh Council equally represented across all ethnic boundaries
Not at
or
all. No.
identities?
No, it's not.
It's not.
It's not.
Then you're racist.
It's not. I didn't form the council, so
You're part of a racist council.
yeah.
That is.
But I understand the argument. Nor do I agree with it.
No, this is what happened at our masjid actually. A whole board insurrection started based on the board not having an equal representation of Arabs and Indians, and the minority were like there was like 4 Arab guys and 3 Indian guys, and one of the Arab guys said, "Hey, you Indians, you guys don't have equal representation. We should get equal representation," and he filled their ears with all this talk, and he caused them to go to court and all these legal battles. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. By the way, that's just the way Sam is. He was playing devil's advocate. He's not.
Yeah,
being
no,
serious.
I know that.
So take offense.
He
No,
listens
I
to
know
the
that.
podcast.
I know, but I don't want him to
Oh,
start
you're
using
doing it for the
jujitsu.
listener. You're listening.
Yeah, I don't want him to start using some jiu-jitsu and put your arm like your arm is right in front of him.
So I
He
was
might
gonna do
slap
I
that.
an
would
armbar on
happily
you.
be in.
He might slap an armbar on
No,
you.
anyone who's got an Ertugrul ring on, I'm not gonna mess with them, man. Alhamdulillah, I like that.
So like, how did you get on the Fiqh Council? Did you like, it's like a job application that they had an opening and like you want to apply, or
It's
So-
about being recognized by
so
the league.
I'll tell you as much as I can tell you publicly.
Okay.
So basically, the Fiqh Council is known to be more senior scholars. So what happened is at some point a few years back, they said, we need to start including some younger people. So they reached out and they brought 3 younger people on. So I was one of those people. So they chose 3 people who they thought would make a good fit for the Fiqh Council. One was Sheikh Yasser Qadi. One was I think what's his name in Canada, Dr. Jasser Auda, and then myself. So I was the 3rd one, happened to be the youngest one. So I was recommended. Basically, you have to be recommended by I think 2 people on the Fiqh Council. So Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui, he's my neighbor. He knows me really well. Like he's in my area.
yeah?
So I'm his neighbor actually in the same area. So he recommended me. So I've been working with him for a long time. So he recommended me. Then the Fiqh Council approves, 2/3 approval. Then you get on the Fiqh Council.
Gotcha. So now you got a recent paper that I guess I don't know if it's published yet, but you're working on,
Yeah.
right? Which is the concept of marijuana in Islam.
Yeah.
So what's this about? Are we allowed to get high now, like publicly? And
Short answer is no.
Why not? It's legal.
Yes, it is. Well, not in
Alcohol is
Illinois.
legal too,
not
brother.
in your state.
Alcohol
it's
is
legal
legal
in
too.
my
It will
state,
be.
It
will be
will
legal
be,
recreationally.
It will be in just a matter of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You go to Canada, but legality, like drinking alcohol is legal too, right? That doesn't
Yeah.
mean you can.
That's
do it
true,
Muslim.
but
Well, that's true. What?
but
Smirk.
there's
no really but.
there's what we call shifa in some type of ailments that
Yeah.
cannabis brings. We can talk about that later, but
I will be talking about
alcohol
that.
is much more poisonous substance. I don't think it's a 1-to-1 ratio that you can make. But you guys are the scholars. Please don't put me in an armbar. I'm already looking. They're looking at me like, with murderous
No,
eyes.
you're here for that reason. You play the devil's advocate.
Right, Sheikh Mustafa. It's funny because in high school I was interested in smoking weed. Right.
Oh.
I never got a chance to, but it was like
Alhamdulillah,
part of
Allah
my
protected
phase
you.
of being.
I know
like,
some guys who can hook you up.
You know, I was like part of because I was like,
Like
you
you
know,
couldn't find it or what?
like I mean, I
I
didn't
didn't
have
want to know
access.
the background story.
No,
I
that's
was-
good. I'm glad you're mentioning that because
No, because it was, but the idea was, I was like, well, Muslims smoke cigarettes,
Right.
and weed is less harmful than cigarettes, so therefore, weed is probably halal too.
Right.
I didn't know that.
It is actually less harmful.
Yeah.
I mean, physically speaking, in terms of carcinogens and everything,
Yeah.
weed is not known to have any carcinogenic substances.
up to research that
From
they
that
have right now.
perspective,
Yeah, and,
Yeah.
and it doesn't give you like lung cancer or like what's
Yeah.
that lung cirrhosis or whatever the heck that is.
Yeah.
So
They're less toxic
anyways,
chemicals.
I remember it is funny. When I went to college, I was friends with an Ismaili guy. I didn't know that Ismaili were kuffar back then.
Hey, at least you weren't friends with Ismail Royer.
Yeah, I would be in jail.
See what I
Or just
did?
kidding, right. But anyways,
We
we're
love
friends
you,
now,
Ismaili.
alhamdulillah. But like, this Ismaili friend of mine, he smoked weed like every day, like in our dorm room, like, always baked.
in your room.
In our in his dorm room, we lived in the same building, but
You went in and hotboxed in his room.
so like but he would never give it to
Even
me.
he doesn't know what that. You too advanced for him, son.
I'm so
He doesn't
sorry,
even know what
man.
that
I
is.
don't know what that is.
You know
Yeah,
what hotboxing is?
no.
Okay, I'll teach you later.
So I asked him like, hey, can I try some weed? He's like, no, you pray 5 times a day. It's not good for you.
Wow, that's
Mashallah.
protection, brother.
Alhamdulillah.
That's
May
what
Allah
you
bless
wanted
brother.
something, and the guy who you were calling a kuffar, and I'm not disagreeing with you, but he even, mashallah, man, Allah can protect you through even.
Yeah.
through
So, anyways,
kuffar, man.
eventually I somehow like came across I became a murid of a Sheikh Abu Khadija, and then he guided me to Al Islam.
Oh, what you thought was Islam.
But that's but
another
anyway.
story.
So the story on what's the deal on weed? You wrote this paper. Why is this important for us to talk about?
Okay, so this is important for a number of reasons. Number one, there's this huge debate and discussion going on about marijuana throughout America and probably throughout about all Western countries, pretty much, right? Because it's forbidden. It's forbidden by law. The federal government classifies it as a Schedule 1 controlled substance, which basically means that it has a lot of potential for harm and addiction and things like that, and it has absolutely no medical properties or no medical benefits. That's what the federal government says. Then you got like 31 states have already legalized some form of medical marijuana or medical cannabis. And you got like I forgot, it's like 8 states or something that have legalized recreational. So there's a huge debate going on in America right now. Canada just legalized it as well. That's one reason why it's really important, because there's a debate among Muslims and non-Muslims about whether to legalize it or not. And there's 2 aspects of legalization. There's recreational legalization, and then there's medical legalization.
Yeah.
That's one reason why it's important. Second reason why it's important is because Muslims have been smoking pot for a long time, right? Like Muslims get high and they do this, and this is a problem with all youth societies, right? Like you went through it, even though you were protected, like you wanted to, right? Like
Yeah.
we grew up in this culture, man, like Snoop Dogg and Dr. Dre and Chronic and the albums and like
Yep.
dude,
Weed
like,
smoking competitions.
yeah.
Who could smoke the longest?
Exactly.
Yeah.
We got the police officer comes in and like talks about DARE and drug abuse resistance education program, and then on the flip side you got like you got a song about like I smoke 2 joints in the morning, I smoke 2 joints at night,
Yeah.
all of that
Yeah.
stuff.
So it's become a strong part of our society.
it's part of our society. It's part and
And
part
we
of
can
our
apply-
Promotion
we
of Bob
can
Marley,
apply-
looking up to Bob Marley
exactly
and music. and,
Can we apply the principle like urf, just like how the Yemenis have done with qat, and permitted it in their?
you're trying to like
legal-
You're trying to jump to that one.
Yeah, I mean, so
I think we should get into that. Just let him. I
Yeah,
think,
yeah.
We'll-
I
we'll
think
get
it's
to-
going to
we'll
progress.
get to that later.
Yeah, we'll get. I know you're looking
Okay.
forward to that one.
Yeah.
So
Look how happy he is.
just wait for the fatwa first before you consume anything in the studio over
do-
here.
I plead the fifth in every aspect of this discussion,
Alhamdulillah.
unlike Mahin, who's already admitted to wanting to smoke it. Astaghfirullah.
Abu Khadija's not going to like that. Anyways, man, continue.
Alhamdulillah. All right, so you got one, you got the legal debate, right? 2, you got Muslims smoking weed, and it's part of the shahwa, it's part of the desires. People want to escape from reality. It's the cool thing to do. Everyone else is doing it. More and more people are doing it. Access is easy. So you got Muslims wanting to do it, and Muslims get confused between the whole debate on legalizing marijuana with halalizing marijuana, right? And they don't know where to draw that line. So like when you're talking about legalization, you're like, You're fighting for like legalization of marijuana because it has medical benefits. You're fighting that it's safer than alcohol. So if alcohol is allowed, we should legalize marijuana. But then the Muslim, who's kind of like automatically leaning towards liberal values and leaning towards the left because of Islamophobia, having to align ourselves with, left-wing politics, that all has an effect on us. And what's happening is more and more people are justifying and rationalizing to themselves
That's a great point.
why it's okay. Like it's okay to use marijuana, and that's a big concern that I have for Muslim youth, especially. So these are like probably two of the main reasons why it's really important. And the third reason why it's really important is there are medical benefits to it, and people are suffering from certain illnesses, and we got opiate addiction. Opioids are like being prescribed left and right. People are taking all of these painkillers and prescription drugs that's leading them to addictions, leading them to potential like meth use later on. And if these are actually much safer and better alternatives for medicine, for medicinal use, why should Islam like prohibit that? Because the difference between like smoking to get high and like trying to cure some like illness that you have, or you got you're going through chemo and you're gonna get all these crazy drugs. Maybe this is better for you. That's why it's important.
So on the medical side, you think there it is? Would you say it would be considered halal, or just case by case?
It's case by case.
Okay.
You could set some general principles. I've been doing a lot of research on this. You can set some general principles. One of the things that people don't really realize, and I think probably a lot of scholars even don't realize, when I started doing this research, I was like, I kind of had one perception going into it, and that perception was like, all this medical talk and all that. It's just people just want an excuse to get high. Right. And I was like, a lot of this probably just like a sham. There may be like one or two potential benefits, but it turns out like there is a lot of legitimate research coming out to show that there's medicinal or medical benefits to it. And then when I started researching, I was just like, whoa, wait a minute. The cannabis plant has been talked about since like Greek times. Hippocrates, Galen, they've been talking about the harms as well as the benefits of it. And the Muslims who adopted that medical framework of the Greeks and the philosophical framework, and they developed it. They're talking about hashish. Hashish is from the cannabis plant. It's like it's a drug. It's haram too, just to clarify.
Is hashish another kind of? It's not marijuana, but another extract of cannabis.
Yeah. So basically, cannabis is a plant. Okay. There's different forms, sativa and indica and stuff like that. So marijuana is made from the leaves of the cannabis plant.
Okay.
Hashish is made from the resin. Resin is like the sap of a tree.
The buds,
So,
from
yeah,
the
yeah,
buds.
yeah, from the
buds,
buds,
and
exactly.
then the leaves are from.
Well, no, the buds are marijuana is coming from the buds
Yeah.
still from the leaves, but this is from the resin of it. So it's actually it used to be stronger, way stronger than marijuana, but now they've engineered marijuana to have higher THC content, so it's like exceeding the THC
astronomically
content.
higher than it was before.
Much more than even hashish is now.
Yeah.
So that's like the Muslim scholars talked about the potential medical benefits of hashish. And hashish is stronger than marijuana. It's from the same plant, which means that there's some validity, there's some legitimacy to this medical research that's coming out, and you have a lot of people doing this, right? So when I started that research, I was like, whoa, I'm like, wait a minute, man. Like, the same scholars who are saying hashish is haram, like clear-cut, 100% haram, they're like, but if it's really for legitimate medical use, it's like it's okay. I'm just like, whoa, wait a minute, man.
And with
like,
that, obviously has conditions too.
a lot of conditions.
Yeah.
Okay. So
it's not just right off the bat like you can
like
self-medicate yourself.
Don't log off right now and be like, oh, God, I got the fatwa,
End
man.
the podcast.
Dude, that's it. We're going straight to the dispensary right now and give me the hashish because Imam Zarkashi, Imam Nawawi said it's okay. Well, the dude from Riyadh al-Salihin said it's okay. I'm done, man. Like I'm heading over there right now. So yeah, we got to be careful. All right. So go ahead.
No. All I was saying is that the general understanding. He could chime into this because he's more of a specialist in this field. But there's reason to give stringent leeway for making something halal. Reason being is, number one, since we were talking about benefits, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sets the precedent in the Quran to let us know that al-khamr al-maisir, that even alcohol and gambling, fiha manafi'u lin-nasi, there's many benefits in it, right? But he said, even though that it has benefits in it, the harm outweighs all of the benefits. The one harm outweighs all of the benefit. So just because something has benefit, it doesn't by default make it halal. That's one thing that we have to understand. The second thing is that consumption of any type of substances that changes the mindset. The difference of the debate occurred amongst the scholars is something that intoxicates or gets you high, or Imam Abu Dawud. I remember you were asking about the hadith. I was able to. Yeah, Abu Dawud actually mentions a hadith that Rasulullah ﷺ says that any muskir, anything that makes you high or overly relaxes you, is considered haram, right? Meaning an unnatural type of induction of relaxation, right? And that's where he was talking about the sativas and the other strain, the sativas and indicas, right? One of them, I can't even remember, has more CBD in it, so it'll relax you more. The other will be a little more racy. Right. But nonetheless, they are intoxicants. And why, we have to ask the question, why do people consume intoxicants in the first place? I was talking to my students, and I said, a very simple way of looking at this is that love given and love taken is something very, very strong and powerful to the human being. Reason for that is if somebody's given lots and lots of love, the less void they have inside of their hearts, right? The more void you have in your heart, you need some type of illumination, and you need to put something in there that temporarily gives you a feeling, whether it's of escape, as you were mentioning, or making you feel happy, right? To release whatever chemicals. But the heart, at the end, needs to fill those voids. And if it doesn't have that type of love, and if it's not given that type of love, if it's not able to project that type of love, it needs to put something in the heart to make up and substitute for that. But it's only going to last for a small period of time, and then you're going to be back into your own misery, right? So love actually goes a very long way. And when I mean love, I'm not trying to make it like a super Christian type love that Jesus loves you, love blindly. No, I'm talking about on a very individual, family, cultural, social fabric level of love, right? But that being said, the stringent conditions have to be met. For instance, the opinion that I very much promote is that if there's no other substitute, there's no other medication in the physician, upright physician. For Muslims, we have to make sure that we go to Muslim upright physicians. If you don't have access to Muslim upright, meaning that they understand Islam a little bit and they have an inclination toward Islam, and alhamdulillah,
I was
Muslims,
just going to clarify that. Let's not just say Muslim upright, practicing Muslims who understand Islam, and then their physicians.
Exactly, right? That's very, very important. And some of the scholars are, when something is by default haram or intoxicant, they say, at least 2 upright, right? Or 2 practicing Muslims, Muslim physicians, especially in, major cities. We have, alhamdulillah, lots and lots of doctors and physicians. So if they say, there's no other substitute for you, and cannabis seems to be, so be it. Then that's a whole different thing, right? And cannabis can also be consumed without getting high in certain types of diseases or whatever the case may be, right? Yeah, please. Yeah. So that's one thing that has to be clarified, that, there's certain things that even opiates, right? If something is an opiate and the doctor says that this is the only pain medication that's going to help you manage your pain and you're not going to be able to conduct your life, that's a whole different thing, right? But taking opiates just for getting high, that's still getting high, and that's a type of haram. That's a type of harma, right? And so I mean that's basically just something I wanted to chime in. And I know that you had a lot more detail, but before, since we're in the first 15-minute mark, I don't want people to just get excited and thinking, that
start lighting up.
Exactly. Yeah, he's got all the terminologies too, mashallah. Anyways, go ahead, take it away, brother.
Alhamdulillah. So basically, cannabis plant has 2 main chemicals. There's hundreds of chemicals, but it's got 2 main chemicals. It's got THC and CBD, right? THC, tetrahydrocannabinol, CBD, cannabidiol. Most young people, at least in California, they know THC and CBD, and they know the difference between them because the drug culture is very prominent over there, right? So THC basically is the thing that's gonna make you high. Okay, CBD actually inhibits THC. That's what the research is showing now. So the higher CBD you have, the less effects of THC, less likely are you to get high. So you go into any marijuana dispensary and you look at their menu. Okay, they have a menu of strawberry kush, and they got black, whatever, orchid, and different,
Maui Waui.
Yeah. So you probably know the menu.
I've never heard of them.
Okay,
I'm just talking about what Shaykh Amr told me.
Mashallah.
That was in the late 90s. Maui Waui was hot. Now that's nothing. Now they're engineering on such a level. Yeah. And the female plant is what they actually look for. What I heard is the male plant. The minimal research is just how there's male plants and female plants, and there's ways of determining, but the female plant is what the people that grow look out after. They don't want the male plant. It actually tarnishes it, It actually tarnishes the high or whatever the case may be. But anyways, yeah. So you were talking about strawberry kush and all that good stuff.
Yeah. So,
Bad stuff.
Yeah, you got like different THC CBD content, right? So THC content is like 20%, 25%, gets up to 30%.
Right.
CBD content on all these menus is like less than 0.1% or something like that, which means that almost all of the stuff that's being sold, it's to get them high, right? But then you have a lot of strains coming out now. They're kind of re-engineering to get higher CBD content. Once the CBD content gets high enough, the THC content is very low. That stuff cannot get you high.
Yeah.
Right. So you got like CBD oil, which has some THC in it, but it's got a ratio of like 20-1. It's got a ratio of 40-1 or something like that.
Now, do they both act the same for medical purposes?
That's exactly what I discovered, and that's very important for Muslims. So because for people who are looking at medical cannabis, right, medical marijuana, they don't care how much CBD goes in there, how much THC goes in there. Right? That's not really like a huge thing,
right?
Because for them, getting high is not. They can get drunk. They don't have an issue, right?
Yeah.
We have a problem with the high and
With
the drunk, right? That's the
right.
intoxication part of it, right? Depending on how you define intoxication. So that's our issue. Now, what's happening, what's really interesting is that research is showing that it's CBD that provides most of the medical benefits rather than the THC.
Anti-inflammatory.
Yeah. For the vast majority of medical benefits, right? With one exception, right? I could look that up. I forgot what it was. So you don't need to have very high THC content, which means you're not going to be getting high for most of these things. Now, this wasn't known for a long time. So most of the research has been done on high THC content. Whereas now we're looking and realizing, oh, wait a minute, high CBD content, actually, that's where most of the medical properties are.
Yeah.
And for Muslims, that's not like an intrinsic problem because it's not going to make you high.
Yeah.
So if that product is not going to make you high, there's a lot more leniency in saying that, you know what, you're more likely to qualify as that being a medical, as long as there's no other alternative, as long as, you're not intentionally trying to, consume this for whatever other reason, as long as it's proven to be effective, all of those things.
Yeah.
And which is great. Actually.
Yeah, no, it is. And I know even for pain management, there's something that occurs in the brain. I mean, it just, if someone's in lots of pain and the THC will numb the portion or the receptors that or your motors, the motors, I'm not remembering exactly. I don't want to actually make something up, but it's not actually
neurons?
getting rid of the pain. It's actually just blocking the receptors for you to feel the pain. It's not actually helping the pain itself, the THC levels, which is why it's actually CBD would be much more beneficial coupled with another type of medicine that you're using, right? So THC will mainly get you high and temporarily if you're looking for pain management. Now, let's just say that someone's allergic to opioids, right? And the doctor says, listen, you need some pain management to conduct your day. And, we're going to give you a type of medication or a strain that does have some THC. You may feel high, or a little bit, kind of like an opioid would, but it'll let you manage your life. Islamically, that's something that it's a small group of people that would be dealing with that type of pain, but that would be something that would be allowed based on what the doctor based on what the doctor would recommend. Because some people will have some horrible reactions to opiates. That's the only option they have, which is considered halal.
Right.
So in that situation too, Allah help us.
I got a question, Shaykh. So, there's a podcast Sim and I did with a certain individual. Like, was it 2 years ago?
Yeah, about 2 years ago.
On cannabis, it'll never see the light of day.
Yeah, she got upset about it and left.
She said it'll never see the light of day.
Well,
She was a weed doctor. She was a Muslim weed doctor.
Weed doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. And what was she saying?
Well, I asked a question at the very end, which I'll ask you too, because like you mentioned that there's some scenarios that if we have that scenario, we go to an upright Muslim doctor who can like legislate that for us, right? But aren't there scenarios that they may not even be knowledgeable about? The question
You mean the Muslim doctor?
Yeah.
Oh, I was about to mention that. Like, yeah, definitely.
That's why the scholars and the doctors have to work together,
Yeah, and, well, not only that. See, the thing is, so like the same way, like I mentioned, like a lot of scholars don't really understand marijuana completely to be able to give like a detailed ruling on it.
Yeah.
Right? There's a ton of doctors. I would say the majority of doctors who are trained in like a traditional medical school. I say traditional medical school, like a normal medical school, who don't know much about marijuana at all. They read like some Huffington Post article and they're like, okay, I made up my mind. Like they didn't study this. It's not part of their medical school training, right?
Sure.
And a lot of people don't read up on their field, so they don't really know much about neither the Islamic part, but also they don't even know about the medical part of cannabis and where are the benefits. So there's a problem on both sides.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So then how do you so the question I asked her,
Yeah.
and this is kind of what got her irritated at the very end, was like, can medical marijuana be prescribed as an aphrodisiac for women to help them get off? Because at work, I remember I was having a conversation with some friends, like coworkers at
Just
work.
before you start, kids.
No, we already gave him the
Okay.
disclaimers
It was
ahead
in
of the
beginning.
episode.
Okay.
I read that. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
just this portion, but go ahead.
Okay, because I remember
you guys know who I'm talking
I
about.
remember at the time I was having a conversation, and she, first of all, she was really shocked that I had a conversation like this at work. That's another story. But we were talking about, like, yeah, man, Maheen, you got to give him some Hennessy or something. You know what I'm saying? Like, getting that wine. I was like, yo, we don't drink. It's against our religion. It's like, oh, snaps. So I was like, wait a second, maybe this is a solution, because he's like, yeah, because my non-Muslim coworkers, they're like, yeah, alcohol's got to be part of it. That's got to loosen them up. It's like maybe marijuana does the same thing. Like, if that's a problem for Muslim couples, the lack of like intimacy or whatever, maybe we do weed, as that.
Maybe we do weed.
I mean, no, but like,
Let's get high.
Yeah.
But she actually did say that she has. I remember her saying that she did use it as a. She has prescribed that in the past.
For an aphrodisiac.
Yeah.
That's probably why she found it problematic.
But doesn't it generally
Well, so here's the thing. So look, going back to our principles,
Yeah.
right? So we got principle number 1 is there's no alternative available.
Yeah.
Okay. Like they say, strawberries can be an aphrodisiac. You got chocolate. You got a bunch
Avocados.
of avocado. You got some other things, right? So, is there a reasonable or potential alternative available? Number
Okay.
1, right?
Yeah.
Number 2, which we didn't mention as a condition, is that this quote unquote illness or problem is significantly affecting your life function, right? So just to say, like, oh, me and my husband, we're not, like, in the mood sometimes and things like that, so we'll go ahead and use this. That's not, I mean, if it gets to a point where it's really becoming a problem, maybe you can make an argument. So, like, there is a gray area, what I'm trying to say, right?
Sure.
There's a gray area. These principles are clear-cut principles, but they need to be applied differently according to different people's circumstance.
Yeah,
right?
even like just talking it out, like,
Oh.
just talking it out and finding out what the issues are. There may be some underlying, reasons why there's not intimacy. It helps a lot just to talk to somebody and finding out what it is, or just a therapist. You have to exhaust all options before you just roll up a joint because there's no intimacy.
And
involved.
especially on this issue, right? Like,
Yeah.
And everyone reacts to it.
yeah,
I'm sorry to
you're-
cut you off. Everyone reacts to it differently. Some people get super anxious. Some people get depressed. Some people feel like they're on LSD. Some people get sleepy.
That's what Imam Zarkashi said
yeah.
800 years ago. He said
Yeah.
the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like people do hashish, and like some people get a little bit violent, some people get tired, some people get sleepy.
Yeah.
So if, like, you do it and you like get tired, nothing's happening anyways.
Yeah. And children before the
And
age
again,
of
you
25.
didn't achieve the goal in the
Right.
first place.
And it's
right?
very much understood that scientific research is that, before the age of like 20 and 25, if people consume marijuana, they shouldn't, because their brains haven't grown properly yet. It actually hinders the growth and messes with the hormones, and the
Yes.
growth of the brain itself gets hindered, right? So a lot of us know kids in high school that were potheads, and they're almost vegetables now. They can't even think properly, So while the brain is growing, I think what they said physically stops growing around 25 to 28 or something like that.
Yeah.
And in Islam, we believe the intellect stops growing, where the brain is complete as far as the intellect at the age of 40, right? But it messes with all of that, right? So everybody knows that whether you're pro marijuana or not, before the age of 25, someone shouldn't be even casually, I think, smoking, because it hinders the growth of their brains too.
Now, there's a sister in the chat who's saying that marijuana is known to stop seizures in
Yeah.
patients. And
Yeah.
before you answer, you have to say it with that guy in mind. Sister asked a beautiful question.
May Allah bless him. We love you.
Alhamdulillah,
We
alhamdulillah.
love you, Zakir Naik.
Mashallah, it's beautiful, mashallah.
Come on, say
Sister asked a beautiful question.
Awesome.
I can't do that. I'm not going to do the accent. I could do it, but I'm not.
Okay,
gonna.
okay.
Alhamdulillah.
So what do you think?
He got principles, Mike.
Alhamdulillah.
Go
But
ahead.
in your research, what did you find was the most compelling reasons to use medical marijuana?
So when it comes to seizures, right? In my
Yeah.
research, it shows that yes, it really cannabis helps with seizures a lot. But what's most interesting, seizures are very serious, and it's the CBD that helps the seizures.
Yes.
Which is like perfect. Which is like perfect for Muslims, because like it's the high CBD content. It's not the THC. And
Yeah.
that's what people don't get. So like people who don't understand this, they're like, wait, basically what you're saying is like that you go to like Snoop Dogg or Snoop Lion, whatever he changed his name to, like what that guy's smoking,
Yeah.
my son needs to smoke that in order to stop the seizures. And it's like, absolutely not. No, that's not the case. We're talking about like, putting like a tincture of high CBD in his mouth.
Yeah.
He's not smoking it. He doesn't need a bong. He doesn't need to vape it per se, and it will deal with his seizures as well.
Okay. And just seizures. Is there anything else that you found?
There's a lot. So I mean, there's a whole
Just
list.
The top 3 reasons, just off the top of your head, like
What do I got in my paper? You
we-
just,
we-
you just
Sir.
read it. You're
because
fresh
I know
on it.
there's a
Just
lot of
hand-
people who have a lot of ailments, and
That's the second page. I
Yeah.
got the first page too.
we're just trying to provide some community service to people who may not have tried
Of course.
some kind of alternative treatments for things that they may have thought that was
Yeah.
haram.
And people have to remember when we resort to things, dude. There's many things. Even like people are like, oh, it stops cancer or helps with cancer. There's many other things that are better for cancer than marijuana,
Yeah.
right? Because I heard Muslims talk about it, right? Even juicing, like beet juice and ginger is known to have, anti-cancerous properties, which is actually supposed to be at a higher concentration, but much better than marijuana, and you don't have to worry about getting high. You know what I'm saying? So there's many other options out there. It's just enticing that something can have medical properties and you can get high at the same time, which intrigues us as human beings. We always want an escape. We need an escape, once in a while, and that's good. But it doesn't have to be through substances that are going to change you. There's many things you can do. There's many things you can consume that are, anti-cancerous or whatever we want to call it. But again, man, I want to, just talk to the youth and say that if you feel that you need to consume something as an escape, there's a void in our heart, right? And we can fill that with many, many things, right? We can fill that with
Quran.
Obviously, right? And Quran has shifa. But sometimes people are like, you know what? They haven't seen that light. They've seen Quran as a chore. That's why I used the word love, man. If you don't have enough love in your life and you're not able to give people love, that's something you have to practice. And then obviously I'm going to say go to the Quran. But some people, they're like, okay, Quran, I don't even understand it. Even though you don't understand it, just for our sake, Quran has shifa. Whether you can understand it or don't understand it. Sam, you and I have been doing an exorcism together.
Oh, yeah.
Right? We've seen exorcism. Somebody who may not even be practicing, the Quran is read on them, right? And even the gentleman that was performing the exorcism,
Yeah.
right? He read, do you remember when he was reading on the Zamzam water and he was giving her Zamzam and she was like, no, I'm good now. There's no more. There's nothing wrong with me. It was a jinn talking.
Yeah,
There's
yeah.
nothing wrong with And he gave her the water. She's like, oh, gasoline. Oh, you're giving me Windex. Remember that? And we're like, whoa. So even though
I love the reference, though, by the way, because 'tis the season
yeah.
for
Yes,
exorcism
inshallah,
reference.
we will have an exorcism. We
celebrate?
will have an exorcist. We will have an exorcist. Dude, I will tell you something about Omar, bro. This guy, Mustafa Umar, got principles. And he's a jolly, smiley guy. I live with him, mashallah. How many? Was 6 months we lived together in Egypt? About 6 months, mashallah. One of the most amazing brothers I live with. We'll have a separate episode just about our life with him because I don't want to praise him in front of him. He might feel uncomfortable. But this gentleman got principles, man.
Yeah.
This guy, you're not going to be able to waver him whatever principles he has. And if you actually, maybe I've seen him angry once and you don't want it to have, no, I haven't seen him angry. But I'm afraid of that because people that are usually as nice as him when they get angry, they start turning green,
Yeah, they start agreeing and they'll put you in a headlock and jiu-jitsu.
Rear naked choke.
Yeah,
Smack a
I
knife.
actually want to. So let's summarize the points real quick before we get lost.
Okay,
A lot
We're
of
having
You
fun,
want to
man.
come
Why
back
you-
to those? You want to come back to that question?
No,
About the
there
medical
was.
things you were asking about. You asked like what are the,
the
top
Caesars,
three?
the top three.
So you
Yeah,
got seizures. So you
yeah.
basically you got like chemo patients,
Yes.
chronic pain, glaucoma, HIV, multiple sclerosis, Parkinson's disease, PTSD, rheumatoid arthritis.
Yeah.
Right. So
Awesome.
most of these, except the stimulating the appetite,
Yeah.
is pretty much high CBD products.
Nice.
Appetite's the main one, which is basically there's discussion on like you need more THC and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Increasing the appetite?
Increasing
Yeah.
the appetite.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
for like kids. You might want to.
No,
Also,
even
you know,
elders,
yeah.
grown-ups. There's some people who have a
grown-
disease. In one of my friends, actually, his grandmother passed away. She had something. It's a chemical that's released in the brain that makes you feel satiated.
Yeah.
So she never knew. She used to forget to eat because she never felt hungry, and she actually, I think, she passed away from that disease.
Wouldn't it be amazing though if it was just for kids like, oh, kid, you're not eating. Let me sprinkle some
people do that.
THC in your food.
No, people in the Muslim world, you know what they give
Oh,
kids,
you
right? For
don't
hunger,
wanna
they give
know
them
what they give
fenugreek.
kids.
Yeah.
Fenugreek actually sparks and entices the hunger a lot too.
Fenugreek.
Fenugreek,
That
yeah.
tastes awful.
Oh,
No, you mix it. You mix it in
but
something.
that explains the munchies when
Yeah.
people are high.
Yeah, yeah,
well,
yeah.
everything
say
THC.
opium, but alhamdulillah. Okay,
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So summarizing the point. So
Yeah.
there's recreational marijuana is still haram, right?
100% clear cut. Not a single scholar that
so
I know
clear
ever
cut,
would say that.
It-
It's okay.
one of the brothers.
What if it's a little bit though? No, I'm just saying you have to.
No, okay. You
then
had a
I
smirk.
mean, like-
dude, you gave me the sim smirk. Okay,
Okay,
I've
hey.
known you forever,
Sure.
and that smirk is usually a troll. Okay.
I'm just saying, like
Let's
if
put it
it's
this
like
way.
weakened down to 2%, where you
it's
are.
Not, it's not recreational then, right? Because you're not really enjoying anything.
Yeah, but
What's the point of
let's
it?
just say you're kind
I
of.
like the way it tastes.
Just to take the edge off. That's what.
It won't take the edge off if you're taking that little.
Yeah.
So what's the point?
What,
of
what
it?
if you're
Well,
smoking
just
it
Me
for
and him were discussing this
Yeah.
before the podcast.
We
too.
literally were discussing
Yeah.
this point,
So-
and
so,
he's gonna like set the principle.
No, even you will, man. This is your thing, man. I don't want to, but even with alcoholic, I'll give you an example. Right?
Well, you can't compare. Alcohol is much.
I'm progressively working onto something here.
Yes,
if
okay.
you want to know,
Go ahead,
something.
Sheikh.
Yeah, go ahead, Sheikh. He looks down. Go ahead, Sheikh. What a troll. He's such a...
For the
Those
new
of you
listen-
guys who don't listeners, he does that to dig deep, bro, because he don't... Go ahead, Sheikh, because he never talks like that.
And for new listeners, he's
Like,
been my best friend since we were kids.
Yeah.
I get to be like this with him. Okay?
Yeah, and
It's
if he
not
calls me Sheikh, I
disrespecting
feel
our-
comfortable. I tell him not to call me Sheikh. That's how far we go back. Like, when he calls me Sheikh, I feel uncomfortable, and he knows it. So, anyways, like, even if you were to take, like, a pin, right?
Yeah.
And you dip it in vodka, and you take it out and tell someone to sip it. Or just put it in your mouth. Even nothing's going to happen to you, but even a little bit of it is haram and a lot of it is haram, right?
Yeah.
The discussion that you're talking about is a great discussion because people in the scholars in the past have discussed in its origin, you know, we call it bi'ainihi, is it haram? Meaning the fact that itself is alcohol, is it haram? Or is it because it's going to intoxicate you? So the fact that it's going to intoxicate you for alcohol, I'm going to get to other intoxicants too because marijuana is an intoxicant, right? The fact that it is an intoxicant itself, a little bit of it would be haram and a lot of it would be haram. It's not haram until the point of intoxication. You understand what I'm saying? Or until the point of getting drunk. You with me, sir?
Yeah.
All right. So now let's talk about other things that are intoxicants. We'll take marijuana, for instance, right? Yes, scholars have talked about hashish and marijuana in the past, saying that since it itself is not alcohol and it is an intoxicant, but is it haram because it will cause intoxication and to get up to that level is haram? Or is even a little bit of it haram? You know, Imam Taymiyyah, and Imam Qarafi, I think, Imam Taymiyyah has the harshest opinion on it. He says that the plant is the most evil plant to grow on this earth, and whoever denies that it's haram, it's an act of kufr that they denied that.
Which plant?
The marijuana,
Cannabis.
hashish.
Does he know about the cocaine plant?
Yeah, listen, who cares? I don't know. He's not alive.
It's much more worse.
I don't know if.
And poppy.
Okay, forget about that. We're talking about this plant.
Okay.
Okay.
We should give him the benefit of the doubt. He didn't
Yeah,
know about
but
those.
by the way, cocaine has to be processed a lot more than
Well,
the
not the
marijuana.
poppy seed.
Okay, fine. Whatever. We'll talk about that. Scholars have talked about that in the past, right?
I'm
but-
just being a troll.
I know
guys,
he is.
relax.
Yeah. So he said that it's the most evil plant, and whoever denies that it's haram, it's an act of kufr because that's how convinced he was, and the scholars around him were convinced that it's haram.
Yeah.
Right? He was of the opinion that even a little bit of it, whether you get high or not, it's still haram, the consumption of it,
Wow.
because it is intoxicant, right? There's other scholars who talked about a little bit, and you know, the sheikh mentions it in here that there was a small minority opinion, and if I'm misquoting you, please let me know. It's just an honor for me to my fellow, roommate and someone who went to school with me to represent his fatwa. This is actually an honor for me. I'm being serious. You know, so that being said, he mentions, because he's a very thorough researcher, he mentions for the amana of knowledge, you know, that he's researching, he mentions the minority of people that mention that, you know, hashish in a small amount, why it wouldn't be haram or why it would be haram, and he mentions that in the fatwa itself, right? By the way, is this fatwa published on the internet right now or no? Not yet. Okay.
It's being voted on
Okay.
by the Fiqh Council
Okay.
this weekend.
Very
What?
cool.
We're voting on fatwas now?
That's
You
how
have-
the Fiqh Council works.
But that's how a fatwa, you should have people stamp it. And
Voting isn't voting kufr?
it was more than
Yeah.
That's a whole nother discussion.
more minds to think about. You know what I'm
We know
saying?
your background. I heard about your background too.
That's my background, yeah.
Now that I understood your background, like I know where these discussions are coming from.
Yeah, man.
Different Muslim
But
movements.
honestly, I know this is not a part of it, but I want your honest opinion, and we don't mind because the our fans are our fans, mashallah. No matter what we do, they're always gonna be our fans, inshallah. Do you think we're a little weird when you
guys?
come over here? Do you come here and be like, dude, like, did you ever like even the first episode you were here for? Did you ever think like, man, I can't wait to get out of this situation that I'm in right now?
No, not at all. You know,
Okay.
the thing is because I think what it is, like people when they have like scholarly discussions, or if there's like a sheikh on or something like that, they're used to expecting a certain like level of
Yeah.
high seriousness,
Yeah.
certain demeanor. And I don't think what you guys do is it's not disrespectful, but it's not the norm.
Yeah.
And the thing is, like when you and I used to sit, even in Nadwa, like or in Egypt, we would have discussions like this.
Yeah.
We're very
Just
casual.
chilling, yeah.
But I think people are not used to seeing casual discussions, with like shuyukh present,
Yeah.
or some serious Islamic topic or something. So it's like very strange for people. They're like, well, what's going on? Why is Maheen making all these weird,
Yeah.
jokes?
No, but when
and
you
what's
were here,
going
did you ever think that, hey, man, these guys are a little,
No.
they've lost it, they got loose screws?
No,
Because
no,
we
like-
think that about ourselves.
No.
I don't
No?
think that at all.
Do you think we got loose screws?
I think I do.
Okay.
I think Maheen does a little bit.
Oh wait, Maheen.
You're
Maheen, don't
just-
get me wrong, dude. You are amazing. I love you so much. But the reason why he's here is obviously because of his voice, and he's crazy.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I actually don't even think I'm crazy.
That's okay. Everyone else does.
That's what crazy people say.
Or maybe this is a whole act for him because he needs a reason to consume some Mary Jane.
Maybe.
So-
I want to sum up the
X-Men,
points
sure.
real quick, just
Okay.
because we have to wrap up, and your Uber driver is going to be here pretty soon.
Yeah, he's probably waiting outside.
We could have made this into a 2-hour
Oh,
podcast.
so
by the way.
somebody is asking some questions real quick.
that the Uber driver?
No, he's a
Just
good,
wanna make sure.
he's a good friend of our
Maybe
podcast.
you never know.
Are the health benefits of CBD oil proven to be good, or are there any medical research to prove that claim? I think we answered that. I think
Yeah.
CBD has been proven to
Yeah.
help a variety of ailments.
As of right now. Now, medical stuff changes
Again, yeah. The
every
word
5
prove-
years,
the
every
word
10 years.
proven, right?
It's theory right,
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Everything. That's with everything, though, right?
exactly.
So,
There's
as
a
of right
strong
now-
indication to show that it does have these medical benefits that's being ascribed to it.
Wonderful.
Right, sounds good. Well, Jazakallah khair, Shaykh Mustafa. And by the way, there was a brother that asked about the haram. Where's the proof it's haram? You covered it.
Yeah.
It falls under
Yeah,
intoxicants,
because
right?
some people say, well, it's not in the Quran. It's not in the
Yeah,
Sunnah.
it doesn't say.
Because alcohol is not used. The term intoxicant is
Yeah.
used in
Yeah.
the Quran, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can-
So I've read some cats telling me that ecstasy is halal because the Quran never says ecstasy is haram.
That's what we all said when we were in high school. We're
Yeah.
like, oh, we can do this. It's not specifically mentioned in the Quran because
We all did that. I think
Yeah.
most of us did that. It's all based on desire, right?
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you
And-
desire to do something, and you're like, you know what? If I don't find Allah specifically saying, "Hey, Mustafa, don't smoke weed," I didn't find that in the Quran. So you're looking for something like clear cut.
Yeah.
You know, people used to argue that too. It's like it says don't go near zina in the Quran, but it didn't say like you
Don't
can't-
commit
it
zina.
didn't say you can't have a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It didn't say you can't go to like the movies with like a girl or something like that. So everyone makes that argument. There's a basis for desire. Partly, maybe there's a misunderstanding.
Yeah.
They don't understand how to interpret the Quran.
Yeah.
But we've had I did like a whole class like just a few days ago. It's all about analogy and qiyas.
Yeah.
Extending the rules of the Quran
Yeah.
and Sunnah and Hadith based upon other scenarios that we've never encountered. Because Islam is a complete way of life. If you encounter something new that's not mentioned in the Quran and Hadith,
Yep.
it doesn't mean that there's no guidance coming from Allah or His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam that helps you towards this specific thing.
And can I
That's
just
a-
add
yeah.
something for like 30 seconds based on what he said, based on what the Sheikh said?
Sure.
One thing is that, a Jewish man came to Ali radiallahu anh, and he said, you said the Quran has everything. And this example I'm going to give with the life of the Khalifa Ali radiallahu anh is going to put something into perspective. It's elementary and it can be used in advanced circles
Yep.
too, right? He said, you say that the Quran has the answer to everything and teaches you about everything. Ali radiallahu anh said, yes. He said, okay, tell me in the Quran where it teaches me how to bake bread.
Yeah.
He said, okay, you want to know where the Quran says that? He said, yeah. I said, okay, come with me. He goes to a baker. They walk together to a baker, and he says, how do you make bread? And the baker tells him, well, you do this, and you put yeast in it, you let it rise, and the whole process. And he said, there you go. That's the Quran's answer. He's like, what do you mean? That's not in the Quran. He says, have you read the entire Quran? The Jewish man said, yeah, I didn't find it. And he says, then you missed the verse where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, فَاسْأَلُوا أَهْلِ الذِّكْرِ إِن كُنتُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. Ask the people of knowledge if you don't know. Right? And that is the ruling of the Quran. If you don't know something, that's why we're actually discussing this. You know, mashallah, he's becoming the person from Ahl Dhikr as far as cannabis is concerned. And a doctor is somebody. So sometimes a mufti can't pass a fatwa without consulting a doctor if it's not in his realm, which is why they both need to work together, right? So everything is not going to be exactly in the Quran, but the principles are in the Quran. The verses are going to lead you to a hadith that's going to tell you about something, right? Allah didn't mention how to pray in the Quran, but Muhammad ﷺ taught us how to pray, right?
Sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, we got to wrap it up because this driver is here. Quick shout out to our sponsors again. If maybe they missed us in the beginning. My Wasiya, because you don't want to kufar taking your kids. Half our Deen to get married. HalfRD.com with Baba Ali. And also Wahid for your finances. Anything else?
Halal finances, Sharia finances.
Yeah.
And
Give us a subscription on iTunes.
Yep.
5 stars. Follow us on YouTube. Tell your friends about us. Trying to just increase the content.
trying
And
to
then
add more
check us out on Mad Mondays and Taboo Thursdays.
Taboo-
YouTube Live.
Taboo Thursdays, and make sure you donate to us via our donate page. This is not a free operation. This is actually tens of thousands of dollars every year. This is not very cheap at all. Please, Sheikh sees here, right here in the studio, all the lights and cameras, 4 or 5 different cameras over here, ready to give you guys the best type of production possible. We're still working our way to being the best, but we don't.
And we will, inshallah.
You know, and we're constantly improving, and we're getting better equipment and better stuff so that you guys have the best entertainment experiences possible while you're learning. So keep us in your du'as if you don't have the money to donate. With that being said, hey, smoke weed every day, as Dr. Dre says. No, I'm just joking.
I was like, wait, what a way to end this?
All right.
What if somebody chimed in for the last minute? And all they heard was sponsors and hey.
They can hear it. They can listen to the re-recording.
No, I know.
For a special guest, Shaykh Mustafa Umar, and my co-host, Shaykh Amr Saeed and Sim. This is Mahin signing off for the Mad Mamluks. Assalamu alaikum.
We love you. Assalamu alaikum.